Hello, everyone. This week, our topic is society between 1815 and 1840. We've discussed President Jackson and all of the great man history, I guess you will, the presidents, the politics. But today, the goal is to talk about the social movements, the more everyday people that were around between 1815 and 1840, 45 or so. Um, One of the big things that you will see in those few decades, in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, is the economy was booming. They called it the market revolution. If you look in the PowerPoint that I have there, you can see that pretty clearly. Why was the economy doing so well? Well, one of the big reasons was the transportation boom in that period. Railroads were new, canals were new. And not only did that give you a new way of transporting things and a wider market to sell the things that you were making, but it also had to be built. There had to be people hired to make all those things. People needed to buy all of the supplies and make the trains and get the metal for the train rails. So that was a big boost to the economy. Um, Frankly, immigration was a big boost to the economy as well. There were plenty of people coming in. They needed to buy all of the products, and there were plenty of jobs for them. Um, Never underestimate the economic advantage of having, a frontier and plenty of natural resources for the country. The United States seemed to have an endless amount of land in the 30s and the 40s, and so people could move west. They could go out there, get their homesteads essentially for free. There were plenty of trees and coal and all of those natural resources that you were going to need to make all the things that you wanted. Um, Investment, the government is helping out with things like free land, giving breaks to the railroads. Even people in foreign countries are doing that. So there are a number of reasons why the economy is booming. Uh, Socially, in the 30s, and we saw this when we talked about Andrew Jackson, the big movement of the time was democracy. And everybody gets involved somehow. Um, Whether that means you're expanding the number of people that can vote and the number of people that go and vote, or whether that means you feel as though it is your duty to be involved and to do something good for the community, and you can get involved that way. Particularly, women took advantage of that. Um, what were some of the things that people got involved in? Well, the abolition movement started to get big in the 1830s. People like Frederick Douglass, for example, William Lloyd Garrison, they got their starts in and around the 1830s, talking about we have to get rid of slavery. And the abolition or the anti-slavery movement only picks up steam and it keeps going from there. One of the other big movements, the temperance movement, which essentially means, well, trying to ban alcohol in the country. There was, I will admit, an alcohol problem in the country. Sometimes it was safer to drink the distilled beer or whiskey than it was to drink just the straight water from the river or the stream. And it was sort of a tradition, so there was an alcohol problem. Um, there was a sense, especially from the woman's perspective, that the men were going off and getting drunk and wasting their money on alcohol, and then the family doesn't have enough for food and clothes and supplies and things like that. There was also a sense that alcohol made you tardy for work. It caused violence. That there were a lot of things that getting rid of alcohol could solve. So there was a really strong temperance or anti-alcohol movement in the 1830s. Also, corresponding with that, and with these two, I kind of like to say which came first, the chicken and the egg, was the Second Great Awakening. That second sort of great religious revival in the United States throughout the 1830s. The first one having been in roughly the 1720s, 1730s, so about 100 years before. This is those big revival house meetings, the impassioned ministers, a lot of your evangelical branches of Christianity, like the Baptists, Methodists. This is where they start to get a lot of their popularity as well. Very popular. If you want to look in your document packet, there is a document, I believe it's by Finney, talking about how do you mix the abolition movement and the temperance movement, and this second great awakening where you're pulling people back into the churches. How do you mix them, and what is the proper stance? I bet you can guess how he feels about slavery and alcohol. He's against both. So just keep that in the back of your minds. Overall, it's a time of prosperity. It is a time of action. And it is a time of democracy. And all of this hopefully ties in with what we talked about with the Jackson presidency. Jackson is president when all of this is happening, and it sort of makes sense that this happens when Jackson is president. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thanks.